How you doing? It's 10:05. It's Connie with you until midday today. Coming up.
Go again, comes again. What has Sarah Story got left? Has she done it? She has. Oh, what a story. A 19th gold medal. You didn't doubt her, did you?
The most decorated UK Paralympian in history, Dame Sarah Story. I'm really looking forward to speaking to her. I'm going to find out how she's got so much energy and the continued energy to try new things, in particular dancing on ice. So we'll speak to her shortly. And with the latest trial for cervical cancer treatment being dubbed the most significant breakthrough in 25 years, what does this mean for current and future patients? We'll try and find out. Plus, it's fast approaching. I love spooky season. I love Halloween, so this is exciting. But what are the Halloween costume trends of this year?
All the conversations that matter.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
I didn't know Halloween costume trends was a thing. You know, when I was younger, it was just a case of like, here's a black bin bag, here's a little hat, paint your face if you're lucky, and you're now a witch. Or, you know, but apparently now we've seen the TikTok trends that, you know, different... You can use the stuff in the house or make your costumes look a bit sort of more, I don't know, realistic. We'll discuss and delve into that in a bit more detail before 12. Thanks so much for all of you for getting in touch with us on the phone. And we were talking about dental deserts and some places across Scotland really struggling to find NHS dentists, people in, you know, in a lot of pain and not able to access the care that they need. This texter has texted me, no name on it actually, but thanks for getting in touch. My son's 14 years old. He's registered with an NHS dentist with a private dental practice in my hometown. I was always under the impression that everyone under 26 years had NHS treatment for free. The last 2 appointments he hasn't attended. They've recommended returning from a dental hygienist costing £61.25. I queried this and asked why it wasn't free. They said a hygienist visit isn't covered under the NHS care. Didn't know that. And this last one just saying, living in the Central Belt, I've only ever been registered with 3 dental practices and now I'm in my late 70s. I've been with my current dentist for 50 years. And in that time, I've seen 3 different dentists. Most work done has been through the NHS. I'm very lucky. 80295, keep your thoughts on that coming in to me today. We want to know, we're trying to just get a picture of exactly what this is like right across the country. We're talking about it quite a lot right across BBC Scotland today. So 80295 is the best way to get in touch. Right, let's...
shine.
there's no more appropriate a track, I don't think, for my next guest. She's no stranger to challenge or a competition. Dame Sarah Storey reached the pinnacle of her career with 19 gold medals in the Paralympic Games, a Team GB record both across swimming and cycling, and is the most decorated UK Paralympian of all time. And her next adventure is going to be something a wee bit colder, I might think. Dame Sarah, welcome to the programme. Good to meet you. Good to chat to you.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, so I think we will get into that icy challenge in just a second. But I mean, reading off that, right, 19 gold medals, all the things that you've achieved, now this sort of next phase of your life, how do you have the energy for it all?
Oh, I've always had a lot of energy. I think one of the things I know I'm not quite well enough to do things is when I lose the enthusiasm. So for me, being busy and always having something to get on with is something that definitely motivates me to get up in the morning. And obviously I don't have to train quite so much directly after a game. So the challenge of dancing on ice came along and I thought, well, why not? It's a bit of cross training, a chance to kind of reflect. So I thought, well, why not?
Right, when do you actually start the training for it then?
So I've done 5 sessions. You get some sessions 1-to-1 as a solo skater before you meet your pro. We meet our pros and start training with them at the end of this month. We meet them, we start training with them next month. So there's still lots to learn. I'm rubbish. I'm not good at all. The only thing that I have going for me, I suppose, is that I'm determined and I don't like not being able to do something. So I look forward to training every day because it's a chance for me to put right the mistakes of the day before. But every time I get on the ice, I feel like I'm Bambi again. So, yeah, I am absolutely terrible at skating.
Right. As part of my job, I have to interview on a regular basis athletes, right? And the one thing that always crops up and the sort of general theme that I always get is that they hate to lose. They hate not being good at something, right? So I can imagine if you're going into something brand new, if you've never really sort of done it before, it's not something you're good at, that must be a nightmare.
It's a nightmare, but I think for me, it's the competitiveness with myself. So it's really important that when you are competitive and you don't like losing, that focus is on yourself, really, being better than you were the day before, because you can't control other people's performance. You can only control your own performance. So I was asked this as we sort of started out and did the first few VTs that will eventually get shown in January when live shows go out. And I said, I think I'll bring that competitiveness, but it will be with myself because I can't control the training of the other contestants. It's very much focused about being better than I was yesterday and seeing that progress week on week.
I always find this so interesting, and it is quite a unique quality, particularly I think in this day and age when we're so used to comparing ourselves to other people, right? That ability that athletes have got, and people who are at the top of their game, who can switch that round and focus purely on themselves. Is that something that you've always had? Or is that something that you've developed as you've grown up? Because I know that you had quite a lot of challenges when you were younger. There was a lot of bullying going on. Is this almost sort of, I know they talk about, was it post-traumatic growth that comes from situations like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I certainly had to learn to deal with not being good enough initially. I wasn't the best at swimming when I first started training. I had about a year of trying to catch up with my peers because I was 10 when I started training, and I was told I was a little bit too old to start training to try and be any good. So there was a determination.
That line, right, that you at the age of 10 you were told by your coach that you'd started your training too late to be actually good at anything. I mean, what is that all about?
I think he was referring to be any good in the pool. And I think this is the challenge we put on lots of young people, is that you must start training really early. And something that we haven't done with our children is like, you choose what you want to do. You try different things. If you drop one thing and pick something else up, or you go back to something, that's fine. I think it's a really healthy thing, and not comparing yourself to another person, especially where performance is concerned. And I think, we can compare ourselves to other people when we're thinking about, we're not in this alone. So, I'm always juggling stuff. And sometimes I feel like I'm the person juggling the most things in the world. But I was recently sent some research by Europcar that says I'm not alone, and that 50% of people wish they had more time in the day. And so I think that's the time where you can say, actually, I'm not alone. I can compare myself to what other people are doing, and that's helpful. But when it comes to performance, it's really important that you recognise you can only control your own performance. And so there are some times where you do have to put aside other people's opinions or, their progress and focus just on yourself. And I certainly learned that at an early age.
Was that a learning sort of point that you had to try and develop, and I guess try and be more intentional about? And is that something that you do still consistently, as an adult?
Yeah, I think you get better at it as you get older. So recognizing what you can and can't control is a really important life lesson. And also recognizing what's a matter of life or death, because winning a bike race is not going to change the person you are to such an extent that you should be worry about being incredibly unhappy or useless or not worthy, if that makes sense. You are, you're still the same determined person. It won't always go right every single time you get on a start line or every single time you sit an exam. You can be the best prepared and then have a challenging day and it doesn't go right. And recognizing that that's okay, that's part of being human, is one of the first steps. And being kind to yourself about not putting too much pressure on. And pressure is good, but when it becomes overwhelming, that's when you can tend to find that people struggle to perform well. So it's a balancing act that you have to learn, and you don't get to learn that until you're that little bit older. And I do think it came out in Paris. I was racing a 19-year-old who had the weight of the French nation on her shoulders. She's super, super talented. She's going to go on to win so many medals and events and races in the future. But it was her home game. She had this incredible expectation. And in the event that I wasn't racing in the velodrome, she didn't perform in the final and got a silver medal. It was not her best performance. Her teammate won instead, and she was probably the most devastated. I've heard people say that any other person they've seen is so distraught. And she hadn't learned, she's only 19, how to manage herself. And that's something that you definitely get with age.
Do you think that also comes with, because sometimes you hear that wisdom comes with age, and I'm not necessarily sure that's always the case. I certainly don't necessarily. I think I'm probably getting worse at that as I'm getting older, in terms of being able to be more intentional with your thoughts, like we were talking about. But maybe because you're aware of more things that can go wrong when you're older, if you know what I mean.
You're definitely more risk averse, I think, and that's one of the challenges of learning any new skill.
Yeah.
Is what's at stake or what could go wrong, and it's about managing the emotional side of your brain that's really concerned by the fact this is exposing you. It's going to make you look bad, or you're going to make a mistake and that will lead to this. Those things, I think you become more aware of those risks, but you need to work on that challenge. Anybody, not you personally, need to work on
You're
that.
Right, I do. I'm glad we had this chat.
Recognize that within what you're worried about, there's certain elements you can control and there are certain elements you can't control, and focusing on the controllables allows you to take the steps, small steps. It doesn't have to be huge leaps. Breaking down any type of challenge and learning it bit by bit. If you're learning your lines for a school play or you're revising for an exam, learning it in small bite-sized chunks, giving yourself a break to come back to it with a fresh brain and with fresh legs or arms if you're doing sports. But recognizing you don't have to do it all in one big jump, and that's really important. And recognizing what you can and can't control is the biggest question you can ask yourself. Am I in control of this, or has somebody else got an element of control? And if they have an element of control, then you have to kind of take a step back and focus on the parts that's entirely within your gift.
Do you notice a change since you began competing, at the age of 14, wasn't it, compared to the younger athletes or the athletes that are coming through now, in that ability? Well, I suppose two parts. The ability to manage the pressure that we're talking about, because I suppose you're going into detail about how distraught that young cyclist was. But also, is the amount of pressure changing on them? compared to what it was like before? And I hate to use it. I always think this is, it's such an easy go-to, but the pressures of social media, the pressures of, I guess, the awareness of everything else that we've got now that's a little bit different, I guess, from 1992. Does it feel different?
I think the pressure comes from different directions. I don't think is any more or less pressure. I think the main challenge is that it comes from different directions, and it's not tomorrow's chip paper, like we used to say to each other, like it might have been written in the press, but tomorrow it's wrapping up chips. So you can kind of realise that it's not a matter of life or death. That was someone's opinion, or so the things that were written that were hard, that they're now very, unless it's a deleted post, I suppose, it's still there. You have to be wise with how you use the mute buttons, the block buttons, recognise that bullying behind a screen and a keyboard is much more difficult to handle. But I think we've also had to learn that as adults, because we entered a digital age having had an analog childhood. And so we were thrown into this without having, and we have something to compare it to. So that creates another challenge in itself. So I think we all have challenges with the pressure that social media can bring, but we also have a choice to switch it off. And I think that's really important to know. That's the bit we can control. So we can't control what other people are saying, but we can control what we're exposing ourselves to. And it's definitely something I think all athletes, adult athletes, have learned as well, how you use that mute button, use that block button, how you limit the amount of interactions you have to deal with, where people are just quite frankly unreasonable. And young athletes are learning that alongside us. And we have a duty to kind of reassure them. And even yesterday, I was interacting with a post where somebody had a comment about her weight on her YouTube video, and it was just ridiculous. But we all made sure that we commented to give her some support. So I think we also have it within our gift to recognise when someone else is having a hard time and to step in and provide that support so that it doesn't eat away at another person.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? But and I don't know if it's human nature or not, but then we tend to focus on the one negative comment or the one negative thing that's been said, which is tough, which I guess is just part of this learning as we navigate our way through this sort of newish world that we're living in now with different sort of people having different online access to you. What was Paris like then? I mean, clearly successful, another couple of goals for you as well. Does it, I was thinking about this and thinking about the games more generally, and it feels like it was only a week ago, but it also feels like it was like last year. Now it feels like ages ago.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. So Paris was amazing. And to go and defend the 2 titles I was after, I was still pinching myself. I've been building up to that since Charlie said, you have to go to Paris, Mum. I need to see you live in Paris, because he couldn't come to Tokyo. And Louisa, she's not sure if she remembers Rio because she was 3. She's seen lots of pictures and she can't remember the actual beach or the actual hotel, the apartments that we rented. So it was so brilliant to have them there on the roadside. But we very quickly turned around because we had the World Championships in Zurich. I think it was just 2 weeks after the road race in Paris. I was in Zurich and preparing for a World Time Trial Championship to defend my titles that I won in Dumfries and Galloway last year.
Yes.
When we had the Mega Worlds over, Glasgow and around Scotland. And so to be able to defend a title that I'd won on home soil was just enormous. And also we had integration into the Able-Bodied World Championships, which is something I've been campaigning for. And it just felt really special and an amazing way to crown a year where it couldn't have gone any better.
I've got to ask you as well, and we're already thinking about LA for lots of different reasons. Have you made your mind up about that yet?
I haven't made my mind up. I want to be in LA. I really do, but I'm very, very aware that I'm 47 in a couple of weeks. I'm also very aware that I have this unblemished record, and every time you get on a start line, the target gets bigger. So I have to be very methodical and logical about making this decision wisely, making the decision to say, the events that are between now and then are events that inspire me too, because that's really important, that you're going to places where you want to race, where you can see a course that will present a challenge, that will provide you with something to focus on day to day in training. You know, if every course between now and the games in LA was just going to be on a flat piece of road with one turn at the end and back again, you know, is that as inspiring as going to some of the more challenging courses like we had in Zurich a couple of weeks ago? So all of those things matter. And I think it's important that we are, as athletes, allowed to say, I'm going to take my time, because it's very easy to say, oh, yeah, definitely, and not really reflect and allow what you've done to sink in. And that's something that I definitely have learned across the 9 games that I've done. Barcelona, I was straight back into training after 2 days, just did not want to leave the pool, just wanted to get better. Now I recognise that taking a step back and reflecting, having a wider vision is going to help me get better. And I think that's really important. And that provides other athletes that sense of, yes, it's okay to say, I want to go, but I'm going to take my time to decide how I get there.
Yeah, a bit of permission as well, isn't it, for yourself just to take a beat and say, right, okay, this is what I want this to look like. Have you given yourself a sort of cut-off point where you say, right, well, I need to know by this point because I need to begin my preparation for it, because it's, you know, the Paralympic cycle, pardon the pun,
yes,
will be something that you need to get your head round. So do you sort of know in your mind when you want to know by?
Yeah, so we have to find out the process of qualification. There's subtle differences every cycle. Obviously, major difference change because the previous games had been delayed because of the pandemic. So the Paris cycle qualification was very different. So again, finding out what that looks like, finding out, you know, which events are included within qualification, whether there are new events added, different events in the games. All of those things are still sort of to be decided and to be communicated to us as athletes. So I just need to get my head around that administration side of things and work out those timescales and then say, okay. And of course, after the games in London and Rio, I had Louisa and Charlie. So that gave me that step back for, you know, I was still training, obviously, as I am now. I'm still training, but not with the same kind of specificity as I had been up to the games, because I don't know where the next course is. I don't know what the type of course it is. So for me, it's a little bit like thinking, well, how did I approach it when I had those 2 pregnancies? I gave myself quite a mental break from it, and I was training very generally. And I think that was a really healthy thing to do, albeit I had then a baby to look after as well. So this time is my first normal Olympic Paralympic cycle since Beijing. So I need to make sure that I make all the good decisions and not come back too quickly or too soon. And all of those things are really, really important.
Yeah, and you've got to fit in dancing on ice as well in the middle of that all.
Absolutely. The juggle is real. But as I said at the start, you know, I'm not the only one. And I think it's really important to know that you aren't the only one doing that juggle, whatever that juggle happens to look like.
My husband and I actually said to each other the other day, do you feel as if there's anyone else busier than us? Because it feels like when you're in that moment, when you've got all the different things that are going on, it feels like it's sort of, you can't see past, you know, what's in front of you. Yeah. But as you say, I think there are very few people who have got it all sorted and got it all sussed, as they say. So
none of us have. And I think one of the things the Europcar research showed was that 50% nearly of people want an extra hour or 2 in a day, because they need to complete more tasks, or they'd like to sleep more, or they'd like to catch up on things, or spend more time with their family. So we really genuinely aren't alone. And that's when it's really good to look at what other people are doing and say, yeah, we're in this together. We're kind of like it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to kind of be successful, and being busy is a good thing. It's just managing that time wisely and using the opportunities that you have to just take a bit of a relax as well.
You're spot on. Brilliant to speak to you, and hopefully, if it's right for you, we see you in LA.
Oh, thank you very much. Really good to chat to you. And if anyone wants any more details about what I've been leaning on, the europcar.co.uk website gives you a little bit more of some of the things that I've been taking advice on.
Oh, I love that final plug. Well done. Dame Sarah Storey there, the most decorated UK Paralympian of all time. Right, okay, lovely chat. It's 10:30.
Leeds, and lovely Liverpool. and lovely Liverpool. Manchester, they're also very cool. We're in the north of England, if you see us say hello. But please don't talk too long or we will tell you where to go. The Chris Moyle Show, we're just like you but famous.
How you doing? It's 10:30. It's Connie with you until midday today here on Mornings. Now, with the sad news of the former One Direction star Liam Payne, we're talking about how you process grief when it's someone you don't actually know. We'll be discussing that more before midday today. Plus, have you made your autumn wardrobe switch yet? We'll get some handy tips on how you do that with the seasonal swap.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Listen on the BBC Sounds app.
You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through the door. Don't need makeup to cover up. Being the way that you are is enough. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. So come on, you got it wrong. To prove I'm right, I put it in a song. I don't know why you're being shy and turn away when I look into your eyes. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. Only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful.
What Makes You Beautiful by One Direction. We are, of course, reflecting today on the news that Liam Payne, the former One Direction star, has died at the age of 31. We're going to be talking a little bit later in the programme about what it's like when you are shocked, when you're trying to process grief of someone that you didn't actually know. And I guess what that feels like, so sort of conflicting feelings of I shouldn't be sad because I didn't know this person, but also you feel something because they're linked to maybe experiences or times of your own life. So we're going to be talking about that just before 12 o'clock today, so stick around for that if you can. It's 25 to 11. Some good news when it comes to cancer treatment. Cervical cancer causes, we know, 800 deaths a year in the UK, and it's the fourth most common cancer among women globally. But, and this is the good news, the result of a new trial led by the University College London has shown that a 40% reduction in the risk of death from the disease and a 35% reduction in the risk of cancer returning within 5 years. It's been dubbed the most significant breakthrough in treatment of the cancer since the end of the last century. But we're asking this morning, I guess, what does that mean if you're going through treatment right now, and also if you are maybe just starting the journey at the moment. We are joined on the programme by Dr Mary McCormack, Honorary Consultant at the University College London, who led the research. Morning to you, Dr Mary.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you so much for coming on. Alongside you this morning, Dr Hilary Williams, an oncologist. Morning, Dr Hilary.
Good morning again. Thanks for the invite. Really important topic.
Very much so. And nobody knows that more than Emma Keys, the cervical cancer campaigner. Morning, Emma.
Morning.
Right, okay. Let's get right into this then. Mary, I guess for you, you were leading this research. Talk to us, I guess, why it's being dubbed the most significant breakthrough since the end of the last century.
Well, in 1999, saw the publication of 5 big clinical trials showing that if you gave a small dose of chemo alongside the radiation, that improved survival for women with cervical cancer that was not amenable to surgery. So that then became the standard of care, and it's excellent treatment. And we definitely cure a lot of women, but we're always looking at ways to try and improve the outcome for our patients. So we started this trial 10 years ago, looking at giving a short 6-week course of chemotherapy just immediately before starting the chemoradiation. And we compared that with 250 women who just had the chemoradiation alone. And we followed those patients up, and we've been able to show that when we look at the 5-year survival rates in the two groups, we've managed to improve that rate in patients who had this additional short course of chemotherapy, boosted to 80%. So that's an 8% improvement compared with standard of care. So every advance and every improvement, for me as an oncologist, is certainly welcomed on behalf of our patients.
I mean, whenever you look back, and I guess the fact that this is not new treatments coming in, it's just a sort of a combination that's slightly been tweaked. Does it make you think, Mary, why has this not been considered or thought about before this point?
Well, there were a bunch of trials back in the 1990s, that looked at giving chemotherapy, not the same drugs, but giving chemotherapy before radiation. And a couple of them suggested that there might be some benefit. A lot of them suggested that there was no benefit, in fact, that it could be harmful. So it just took a bit of sort of detective work, I think, on our behalf to go back and have a think about how those trials were conducted, what drugs they used, how they delivered them. And with the knowledge that we've built up from other tumour sites and in gynec cancer in general, we thought if we give a short course of treatment, but don't actually delay the sort of the most important part of the treatment, which of course is the chemo-rad, make sure we don't delay that. So we can balance this need for giving some additional chemo, but not delaying the definitive treatment, and see whether that would actually yield dividends in terms of survival. And it has.
So if there's people listening to this right now who are maybe just about to start treatment, or maybe are going through it right now, is this suitable for everyone, Mary? And is this going to be the sort of, I guess, the way that the future of treatment for this type of cancer? Or does it have to be quite specific to the certain types and different types of cervical cancer? Would that be fair?
Well, generally speaking, we looked at patients in the trial with the three most common types of cervical cancer, and patients or ladies need to be fit to have chemotherapy with the radiation before you would consider giving this additional treatment. So most of our ladies are younger and they're fit and they don't have many medical problems. So it's a point of discussion, with your oncologist to say, can we consider this because the drugs are available? The publication is out there now, so everybody can scrutinise it for themselves. And we hope that it will be incorporated into the guidelines so that it can be considered for all those ladies with, sort of locally advanced cervical cancer, which is not amenable to surgery as a first step.
Hilary, explain to us, for people maybe who are not familiar with it, the symptoms of cervical cancer. What are people looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, really important, because we know that women do may delay going to their GP or seeking help. So I think really important message. And one thing I would say to anyone when listening, have a quick look at a picture of where your cervix is, where your uterus is, and where your ovaries are, because they're different types of cancers. And a quick poll of my friends said that a lot of women don't realise that. And I think it then really makes a lot more sense what symptoms you might get. So because the cervix sits at the top of the vagina, so things, if you're an older woman that's had their menopause, you'd worry particularly about postmenopausal bleeding. Younger women, it's bleeding in between your periods, or if you're having sex or something like that. Or just if something doesn't feel right, it's painful on sex, or you're noticing a change, just do get in touch with your GP and ask. It's very, very simple to have for people to check that out, have your smears done. So I would say, if in doubt, there's lots of really good information online. Go to the sensible websites, but just knowing a little bit about your body, and if you're worried about changes, please seek help. But bleeding is probably the big one to look out for.
Why in particular, Hilary, does it seem to impact or affect women in their 30s or younger women?
I think what's really important on the cervical cancer journey is that we now do have the HPV vaccine, which is brilliant. So my daughter's had it, but I didn't have it. So it depends, that's going to change this. But we also know 30% of women or teenagers aren't having the vaccine. So another really, really important message, if you've got kind of siblings or daughters or granddaughters, please get them vaccinated. Or if you're worried about the vaccine, talk to someone. So I think it's just that we don't quite know why different cancers affect different ages, but it is related to kind of the virus, the HPV virus, and most people maybe get exposed in their teenage years. And so that seems to be the natural time when it develops symptoms. But certainly, I mean, Mary will know this, in detail, we see women of all ages. I think it's partly we see, ovary cancers in a bit of an older population. So I think it's around that.
Emma, I want to bring you in here because your own, we're talking about women in their 30s. You were only 29 when you found out that you had this. Well, talk to us about what it was first like when you were diagnosed, and I guess what was the sort of the symptoms that led you to the doctor?
Well, I had just had a baby, and I went for my smear test after having my third child, and had no symptoms before then. Had back-to-back pregnancies. I've got 13 months between my middle child and my third child. Had went for my routine smear, came back HPV positive with abnormal cells. And at that time, being 29, considering myself quite relatively young, having 2 children, I'm quite fit, I'm quite healthy. I never thought I would have got a cervical cancer diagnosis. I had clear smears before that. I did have my smear when I was 25. My world was literally just turned upside down when I got that diagnosis, especially with just having a newborn as well. So it wasn't easy.
No, I can imagine it's difficult enough, isn't it, navigating your way through that next phase of having a newborn, having other kids to look after, and also trying to deal with and look after yourself. I mean, what was that next phase, and I guess what was treatment like for you?
Treatment was tough. I wanted to go on and have more children, but I'm now infertile. But at that point of being diagnosed, I mean, all you want is to be cured and, you know, given a second chance at life as such. So at that time, that was my only goal, was to be here for the children that I've got. Now going on, it's difficult with, you know, not being able to have any more babies and, you know, having those harsh treatments, and I'm in menopause now, and yeah, that's quite tough. Being young, going through that, having a young family, it's been very life changing. My world has been turned upside down, but I'm so thankful that I'm here now and I get to be here for the children that I do have.
How are you now?
Yeah, I'm okay now. I'm all clear now. So, yeah.
And this treatment that we're talking about today, I mean, I know that you're a campaigner and you're really keen on making sure people go for their smears, any symptoms they get checked for obvious reasons. But I mean, this treatment looks like it's, you know, it could be a game changer.
Oh, it's absolutely groundbreaking, and I would say that to Mary, it's what you are doing is nothing short of a miracle. It's absolutely amazing for women who have got advanced cancer to be given their life back. That's absolutely commendable. So thank you for that. It's so exciting with this development because, as it said in the research, it's not only for cervical cancer, but this might work for other cancers. So it could benefit using, you know, similar methods. But I think with this, obviously focusing on the advanced cancer stage, from a cervical cancer campaigner, I mean, I would like to emphasise the importance of prevention here, that we don't get to the advanced stages of cancer. And that's what I do campaign for over social media. My handle is Mrs. Smear, if anybody wants to follow on.
Did you say Mrs. Smear, because it broke up a wee bit there?
Yeah, sorry, Mrs. Smear on social media. And my message just is that cervical cancer is preventable. If we have the right programmes in place and we've got the uptake from women and those with a cervix, that's key to not letting the cancer get to these advanced stages. However, once the cancer is at these advanced stages, if women aren't dying from it and this treatment is working, then that is groundbreaking in itself.
I mean, Mary, Emma made that point there about this potentially could be helpful for other treatments and other cancers. Is that what you're hoping, I'm assuming?
Well, I think, that sort of approach would need to be tested in a specific cancer site. And, there are other cancers, like some of the gastrointestinal cancers, where it's not uncommon to give chemo first and then to do another treatment afterwards. But, I think you can't just extrapolate from one cancer to another because they all behave differently. But we know that this works. This approach has benefited women with this sort of cancer that's not amenable to surgery, so-called locally advanced, where we're not going to be doing an operation. But, just to go back to what Emma said, it's so important. And Hilary, these cancers are preventable. So we have to continue to press that message home as well. Get your smear test. Please get your daughters vaccinated and your sons. And if you have vaginal discharge, it's another very common symptom that maybe, people think, well, it's probably nothing to do with anything, or it's not abnormal. But if it's unusual for you and you have a vaginal discharge, go and speak to your doctor about it, because that is often a symptom as well of cervical cancer, or symptom that something's wrong.
Listen, Mary, thank you for coming on. Amazing work that's happening, and congratulations to you and the team for for the work that you're doing. Hilary, thanks so much for your expertise as well. Dr. Hilary Williams, their oncologist, who was just describing some of the symptoms to look out for, and also Emma Keys. Emma, I'm so glad that you're well now, and keep the campaign and going. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was Emma Keys there and Dr. Mary McCormack, who's the honorary consultant at the University College London. Right, it's just coming up to 10 to 11.
Only on Switch can you go from this,
starting all the way down there in number 5,
to this. It's the Game Up Epic Comebacks. Switch, weekends at 7, only on Game Show Network.
How you doing? It's Connie with you until midday today. Coming up.
The neighbors know my name. Where you screaming, scratching, yelling, but the neighbors know my name. Maybe stressing while we sexing, but the neighbors know my name.
Good neighbours, right? But what if you don't have them? What's your experiences of bad neighbours? Have you managed to find a resolution, or have you been going through a hellish time with neighbours that have, maybe it's loud noise, maybe it's sort of unkept areas or gardens or whatever else, and it's or maybe there's conflict there. Talk to us about what you're experiencing. It can be so detrimental to people's well-being, this, and we want to hear your stories. 80295, and also the stories that you managed to, as I say, find resolution, and it's all sort of happy ever after now, because it might be helpful to other people that are listening to find that resolution as well. So 80295 is the way to get in touch. And also, have you made the autumn wardrobe switch yet? I'm just sitting with a kind of cozier jumper on. I sort of have and I haven't. There's still little stragglers left from the sort of summer wardrobe. But if you are maybe on a similar page, or you want a little bit of, I don't know, some help, some tips on the best way of doing it, stick around.
You might as well show it. Say, girl, you've got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it. Don't be shy. Girl, you've got it. Let's have a good time. Girl, you've got it. Girl, don't be ashamed. Girl, you've got it. Go ahead, do your thing. Hey there, baby. I see you looking good tonight. Get your high heels on and your dress fit tight. Ooh, you smell so good and you look so nice. I wanna get next to you, babe, if only for just one night. Girl, I've been trying so hard, trying to find the words to explain the way you move your body, baby, and make it hard to maintain. Ooh, I got to tell you, baby, the way that I feel, I can't sugarcoat it, baby. I gotta tell you like it is. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it. Don't be shy. Girl, you've got it. Let's have a good time. Girl, you've got it. Girl, don't be ashamed. Girl, you've got it. Go ahead, do your thing. Go ahead, do your thing. Go ahead, do your thing. Say you're looking real good tonight. I just really wanna know your name. Go ahead, do your thing. Go ahead, do your thing. Say you're looking real good tonight. I just really wanna know your name. Girl, you've got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. ashamed. Girl, you've got it. Go and do your thing. Go and do your thing.
Today, fun and cute or classic horror. When it comes to Halloween costumes, what do you tend to go for? Turns out on TikTok, that's now apparently got a lot to do with it. Shocker. Some of the costumes we've been seeing apparently sort of go from horror movie villains to superheroes. But what costumes are trending this year for Halloween? Well, there's no one better, I would say, to talk to than David Farry from Yvonne's Fancy Dress in Dundee. How you doing, David?
Hi, I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm guessing you're busy right now.
Yeah, it's starting to get busy, so it's good. It's good. So yeah, it's good to see people coming in and getting enthusiastic. So
right, okay. What? That sounds like someone's just come in now, have they?
Yeah. Well, I've gone into the other shop actually because it's too busy next door. So
that was good timing. Right,
Yeah.
What are we tending to see then that people are going for this year? What are the trends?
So trends are definitely classic horror. So Ghostface, huge. There's now a big range of Ghostface masks, and I really think that is TikTok. So there's a lot of things where people are putting on these masks, buying the props, and then doing like silly dances and things. That seems to be huge.
Right. Forgive my ignorance. Right. I mean, I can guess what Ghostface is, right? But is it the sort of scream mask type?
Yeah, scream mask. Yeah, so scream mask. So yeah, they do it with like bling. They do it in fluorescent pink. They do a devil one. So now it's not enough to just have the classic scream mask. There's about 20 scream masks,
right, okay.
And some people collect them. So it's not just they're buying them fancy dress. Like we're noticing that people are wanting the packaging to be perfect because they actually want to keep them. So that's a new trend we're seeing. More horror collectibles. So
is that slightly concerning?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. No, I think
each
it's
to their own. That's
exactly.
what I would say. Right. So, I mean, I when I was younger, right, I would tend to go for the sort of the other classics. So maybe a witch, or maybe sort of like, I remember one year I did the Jasmine from Aladdin and all these sort of like, you know, I just basically wanted to wear a really big long wig. Effectively. It's just that experience of dressing up and almost like being someone different is such an exciting time of Halloween, isn't it?
Well, I definitely think it's really freeing, you know, because you are playing a character then. And I think, you know, people really do get into the FX makeup, the wigs, the accessories, all to kind of completely change their look. So that it almost like, like you say, it's like you're a character and you're free. You can do whatever you want.
I know, and you can get away with it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I know.
What about, you know, some of the bigger movies and stuff that we've seen, like Wolverine and Deadpool, and also, I mean, I can't believe it's coming back, but Beetlejuice is now a thing again, the Joker. Are we seeing people sort of like trying to find costumes to mirror what they're seeing in the cinema?
People are very film-led, so Deadpool, huge. It's huge every year, but Deadpool, Harlequin are really big again. But again, they want like all the kind of more movie style props, like they need to be quite authentic. So I've noticed customers are getting more discerning, like they want proper Wolverine claws. Foam ones aren't good enough. They want the proper latex mask. Kids especially, very fussy. They know exactly what they want. They know exactly how it looks, and so they want the exact thing. Do you know what I mean?
Are they, what sort of age does it start getting serious?
I would say really from 4. You know, yeah. So the thing is, the funny thing is, a lot of these horror films, and even say Deadpool up until the most recent one, wasn't 18. Technically, the kids shouldn't even have seen these films. But obviously, because of YouTube, because of TikTok, they're getting clips of things on Facebook that that is kind of in their psyche, you know, so they know who Deadpool is, they know who Chucky is, they know who Beetlejuice is.
Which is terrifying in itself.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
And they've no fear. Kids have no fear. They want to be as scary as possible.
Well, that's it, isn't it? You're ramping up the scary for Halloween. Right, David, listen, good luck. I hope it's as busy as you hope it's going to be, and hopefully it's not too scary for you as well. doing? It's BBC Radio Scotland. It's Connie McLaughlin in Mornings with you for the next hour. Coming up.
The neighbors know my name. Where you screaming, scratching, yelling, but the neighbors know my name. They be stressing while we sexing, but the neighbors know my name.
Everybody needs good neighbours, but what if you don't have good neighbours? How can you resolve a disagreement? Have you had bad neighbours? How's it impacted and affected your life? 80295 if you want to get in touch with me. And have you made the autumn wardrobe switch yet? If you've not, don't worry about it. We've got some tips and the best way to do it. Plus, with the tragic news in the last 24 hours of the death of the former One Direction star Liam Payne, we're going to be talking about how you process grief when it's someone you don't actually know.
All the conversations that matter.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Yeah, we are discussing bad neighbours.
I did it. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, you ain't nothing but a
dog player. I get it. Fraud player. I get it. Understand. You ain't the man. You ain't the man.
you ain't nothing but a
Dog.
you ain't nothing but a
Player getting violated, running that whole whip. 2 fingers up, 1 down with my toes 10. Flued out my boobs out, put a cork in it. Love it when you be crying out when I'm corseted. I don't think you gon' make it. Do not let me start raging. Losing my patience. This ain't staying in Vegas. There's more sides to the story, I'ma tell everybody. Had your ass in courtside with your arm around me. Had your ass in first class with your burnt ass out in Abu Dhabi. Could've been what we should've been, but you lost it. Bet now you gotta find me. Find a seat. I ain't playing this hide and seek. High school where you finally peaked. Hound dog couldn't find a treat. I'm a bad bitch, but dog player, I get it. Fraud player, I get it. Understand. You ain't the man, you ain't the man. Yeah, said I get it. I know you got some other you want it. I get it. You needed someone that could prove you wrong, so I reckon you leave all of your problems at the door to my city. You gon' need to tell my brothers where you from, and I admit it. I still got empathy, and you gon' feel it for 2 weeks when I release you in them streets and keep my meaning discreet. Keep the cleaning, my Jeep and put that Yeezy in your teeth. Let my demons off they leashes if you even think to speak. I'ma give a whole new meaning when you said you live in a dream. We could keep that sleeping, you gon' laugh at all your G's. Count them sheep. Time by Z, R.I.P. Dog player, I get it. Fraud player, I get it. Understand. You ain't the man, you ain't the man. Dog player, I get it. Fraud player, I get it.
Just coming up to 10 past 11. There's a reason that we talk about the benefits of having good neighbours, right? Someone to help out if there's an issue, or actually, if you just don't really want to speak to anyone, they respect your privacy and let you get on with it. But what if you are not one of the lucky ones? What if you've got a bad neighbour? A man whose neighbours complained about the rubbish artwork in his garden has defended his unusual creations recently. And I got us thinking about how, I guess, if we don't have good neighbours and it turns a bit sour, how you then begin to resolve that and everyone just sort of live a more peaceful life. If it's not the case for everyone. So let's talk about this. Graham Boyack is the Director of Scottish Mediation. Graham, how are you doing?
Doing okay, thanks.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to have you with us. Therapist and creator of RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, Marissa Peer, is also on the line. Marissa, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Right. How difficult, Graham, is it when you're trying to sort of live a relatively peaceful life and then you go out the door and you've got someone who lives in quite close proximity to you and there's disconnect there and I guess just it can go even further than that. There can be aggression. What's it like and how tricky is that to deal with?
It can be very tricky because quite often how we come across to somebody else is very different from how we think we're coming across. So you might think you're being calm and you're being very rational with someone, but quite often the first ambit is to either blame or make an accusation, which can immediately put somebody else on the defensive. So trying to be quite open and, saying, is it possible to have a chat about whatever the situation is possibly a way forward in some of those things. But also, if you think somebody's going to be aggressive at the beginning of that conversation, it might make your adrenaline's up and you're ready for a fight as well, which isn't the best way to start a conversation.
What are some of the common things that people tend to sort of butt heads about? I mean, we know like parking, or that's certainly top of the list, I would have assumed. Is it?
Noise
yeah.
would be one of the big things. And that's often people living different lives. So people's lives, people might have kids. Somebody might be upstairs who's on the night shift and who's trying to sleep during the day. It might be somebody's television makes a real noise because sometimes when our houses are built, there's not good insulation. The things like laminate flooring looks great, but for the people downstairs, it's not always the best thing to have.
I saw a thing on social media recently, and it was a lady who came to someone's door and she was just saying, listen, I'm working night shifts. I've just in from work. You're going to need to stop your baby crying. And the woman whose baby it was, who was just sort of, generally going about her business, was just saying, I don't know what you want me to do here. I've got a whatever, I can't remember what age the baby was. It's quite young, certainly under a year. And she's just saying, well, the baby's a baby, it cries. You're going to need to have a little bit of compromise here and a bit of understanding that that's what babies do. Well, I mean, at what point do you say, and I mean, I was looking at the thread actually, and there was people agreeing with both sides of that argument, and it was there was arguments for and against it. But I mean, at what point do you say there needs to be a level of compromise that everyone has got to be able to sort of live their life peacefully? And how do you do that if you're in a flat or in a terraced house or live in close proximity to people?
Sometimes a mediator can help to facilitate a discussion where people are finding it difficult to see a way forward, just trying themselves. And it's about exploring the situation, understanding what it's like for each other. So one of the things is, how would you feel if you were in their shoes and vice versa? Are there different ways in which you can help? So for the person who's on night shift, is it at particular times? Is it all the time? You might want to try and explore some of those issues, but getting into a situation where the conversation's possible is really the first step.
Who's in the right and who's in the wrong in that example?
It's one of those ones where they're probably both in the right, which is what causes the difficulty. And often you can have two people looking at the same thing and look at it differently, and they're both right to look at it differently because that's the perspective that they're coming from. So actually who's right and who's wrong doesn't often help.
I guess just sitting on the fence here and playing both sides of it. I mean, the other argument could be, well, listen, if there's laminate floor upstairs or if there's people that are making noise because you're in a different shift, why are you living in a house that's either a flat, or why are you living in a house that's there's people close by, which is always running. You're always running the risk of not getting exactly the noise level that you want to live a peaceful life. I mean, what would you say in response to that?
I think it's very difficult because not everybody's got a choice in where they live. And you also, I think the most difficult thing is if you buy a house, you don't really get the opportunity to live in the house for a couple of weeks to think, all right, this sounds okay, where you might pick up on some of that sort of stuff. So it is very difficult. And so trying to deal with the situation as you find it is usually going to be the only way you can get around those things.
Marissa, how detrimental can this be to people's mental and I guess general and all round health? Because your home is the place that you feel, or you should feel, the most safe.
Well, of course, and your home is a place you want to relax, in the same way that I couldn't paint my house bright purple if I wanted to because it would upset the neighbours. I think you have to take into consideration people. And so if someone's got something really ugly, it's like having broken down cars, it covering your drive. It upsets people because aesthetically it's not pleasing to look at, and you want to come home to your home that you've put together and think it looks nice. So having someone's art, which someone else sees as junk, would cause stress, anger, depression, frustration, because you feel unheard. You know, humans need to be seen and heard. And when you feel not heard, it makes people feel angry, but also very helpless and hopeless.
And in that situation, what can you do if you've tried to resolve it, tried speaking to people, and you're not getting where you want to go with it, to make sure that you're having a better quality of life? How do you begin to sort of try and almost make peace with it if you can't move?
Well, I guess if you have a neighbour that's got really ugly art and he thinks it's beautiful, your first step is to offer to do some screening, plants and bamboo that grows very quickly, see if you can put some screens up. Always try to meet people halfway, or maybe ask them to rearrange it. You have to appeal to someone's better nature, but of course the difficulty is they think their art is beautiful and you think it's ugly, so art is so subjective. But the first step is appeal to them and offer to fund the alterations like to make. You can't really pay for them themselves. Well, you could, but they probably wouldn't. So come together from a place of, look, let me work with you on this. That's the first step. The second step, of course, if it's really unattractive, is to appeal to the council and see if they will help you, or appeal to mediation. But the ideal thing is to see if you can work it out together.
This text in from Jim in Livingston, who's on 80295, by the way, if you want to text in your experiences as well. We live beside a mum and adult son who initially took exception to a minor parking issue and subsequently refused to speak to us for 4 years. Antisocial behaviour ranged from posting dead birds over the garden fence to following family members in their car. When their behaviour became apparent to the landlord, enough pressure was applied to them to have them move out. We last heard that they'd been forcibly evicted from their next house as well. I mean, Graham, this is the thing, as Marissa was saying, you don't necessarily, or you don't have a lot of control over who moves alongside you. But, I mean, in that situation, what would you have advised Jim to do?
If Jim had a local authority who had a mediation service, they may be able to help, but some issues, as you've described, can go beyond that sort of level of what you might expect a normal dispute to be. And so you would want to screen the dispute to make sure that proper safety issues were being taken into account if they needed to be. So I would say get advice would be the first thing, because sometimes we would say, yes, that's suitable for mediation, but sometimes it's not. And it's good to be clear about that and know what your options are.
What if it's a privately owned home? Where would you go to if you needed help for that?
Some councils will have mediation services which will deal with private owned property. Other than that, we have a helpline with Scottish Mediation, which you could give a call and we'd be able to advise, because we may be able to link you with a mediator. There may be a service that applies to you. Otherwise, we might just connect you with a mediator who'd then be able to help you out.
Have you had real life experiences of, conflicts that you thought at the beginning, this is going to be tricky, but you've actually managed to be able to resolve it?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard particularly from a number of community mediation colleagues working in the councils where, issues of laminate floors could be resolved by a rug, for example, because that can deaden the sound significantly. Part of it is also sometimes people don't understand what it's like for the other person.
Or they might not even know. That's the thing.
Yeah,
if
absolutely. People will often not say anything because they're afraid to say something. And so just sometimes that conversation helped along with by somebody else can then give that level of understanding, which normally humans are like, okay, I can see the problem from your side. that helps me to be able to then think about how we might be able to resolve it.
So I guess your message would be to people who are out there who might be struggling right now would be that there would be hope in this, that in some way this can be resolved without, because I mean, you don't want to be that person that's chapping the door and just becoming sort of, like a bit of a nuisance, but also equally everyone has the right to feel as if they're comfortable and live without noise or, banging music coming through or people walking up and down, above them. And let's be honest, we're all, no matter what your situation is, having a house isn't cheap.
No,
you're
absolutely.
paying for the privilege.
Absolutely, I would say so, because given the right circumstances, there's usually a way to resolve something.
Marissa, what would your final piece of advice be for people listening?
Well, when it's noise, the first thing is record it and then go down and play it. I had neighbours above me and their noise was so bad. I went up and their speakers were on the floor. And I said, if you put those on a pile of books, it would make a big difference. And they did. So if it's noise, you need to make some recordings and say, look, this is what it sounds like to me. I know you have no idea, and I'm sure you don't mean it. Always come out nicely. It's always better to be kind and nice, and so you probably don't even realise this is happening. But if you can record noise and play it back, people will see your point of view far more than if you attack them.
Another text in, Lindsay from Glasgow has been on to say, I've had neighbours move in below me a few months ago who chapped my door to tell me I was too noisy. They complained my TV was on too loud at 8 o'clock on a Sunday and that they had a medical condition which meant they couldn't abide noise. I've lived here for 14 years and it's caused me massive anxiety. I sought help from many people, all saying I was in the right, but I have agreed to do mediation for them, not for me. I'm worried that they'll make me feel even worse just by living my life, says Lindsay in Glasgow. And that is the worry, isn't it? That, you don't necessarily want to be that person who's initiating it or but if they come to your door and say, well, actually you're causing a problem here and you've lived there for an awful long time, then it's very difficult to be able to, continue living your life peacefully, which is really difficult when it is your home. Right, keep your thoughts coming in. 80295. What's your experiences of neighbours who've been challenging and have you managed to resolve them? Graham, thanks so much for your time. Marissa, thanks for coming on as well.
Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank
Graham Boyack, their Director of Scottish Mediation. Oh, that's him away. And therapist and creator of the RTT Transformation Therapy, Marissa Peer. Keep your thoughts on that. As I say, 80295 is the best way to get in touch. If you want to send me a wee text, I can see them all coming in. So send me a text and I'll read some of them out for you as well. It's 11:24. I'm here until midday. Then Lunchtime Live is on the way. And Vary's here to tell me what's coming up. How you doing, Vary?
Good morning. Yes, good, thank you. Today, the BBC has been told that the Scottish Government has shelved plans for a bill which would have created a Commissioner for Learning Disabilities and Neurodivergence. So we'll be hearing from an autism charity which says it's bitterly disappointed at the news. It had been planned for some years. Also, the UK government's speeding up plans for a skills passport that's supposed to help oil and gas workers transition to renewables. We'll be looking at what exactly that involves. And tributes, as you know, are pouring in for the former One Direction star Liam Payne, who's died after falling from a hotel balcony in Argentina. He has in the past spoken of his mental struggles. He's been hospitalised a few times. We'll be looking at the pressures that kind of stardom can bring to young people thrust into the limelight. Plus, we know that heating our homes in a greener way is a big challenge for our ageing housing stock here in Scotland. So could electric wallpaper replace gas?
Ooh,
it's an intriguing idea.
Yeah, that would be nice and warm, if nothing else. Just
you would hope so.
Lean against your wall, although it might make your wall dirty. You have to constantly wipe it. That's where my head goes straight away.
Find the downside.
Don't know what that says about me. Okay, thanks very much for that. Vary coming up Lunchtime Live at 12 o'clock. It is 11:25.
You gotta ring in fast, think fast, and answer fast.
Bloody Mary?
Ozzy Osbourne.
Michael Landon.
Because winners are made in just a split second.
Kate Jackson.
Yes, Split Second with Monty Hall. All week long, starting at 1 on Buzzer.
You're listening to Mornings with me, Connie McLaughlin, on BBC Radio Scotland. I hope you're well. Still to come before 12, we're going to check in with friend of the show, Jojo Fraser, as she reaches the halfway point in her Sober October challenge. And by the way, she's all the way from sunny Spain this morning, so it's going to be interesting just to find out how she's got on when she's on holiday. And also, have you switched up your autumn wardrobe yet? If you haven't, then we've got tips from a stylist on how to do just that.
All the conversations that matter.
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
And not just any stylist, by the way. Talk about friend of the show.
Hey. Trips that you plan for the next whole week. Bands too long for so cheap and your flex OD, your sex OD. You got it, girl, you got it. Hey, you got it, girl, you got it. Yeah, pretty little thing, you got a bag and now you wildin'. You just took it off the line, no mileage. Way they hitting you, the DM looking violent. Talking while you come around and now they silent. Blew the coupe at 17, no guidance. You be staying low, but you know what the price is. Ain't never got you know it being modest. Poppin' shit, but only cause you know you poppin', yeah. You got it, girl, you got it. Hey. You got it, girl, you got it. Little baby in a bag in a Birkin. No 9 to 5, put the work in. Laws and all, I love them all. To me, you're perfect. Baby girl, you got it, girl, you got it, girl. You got it, girl, you got it, girl. I don't wanna play no games, around, give you my last name. Know you tired of the same damn thing. That's okay, cause baby, you got it, girl, you got it. Hey. You got it, girl, you got it. You the only one I'm tryna make love to, picking and choosing. They ain't really love you, running game using. All your stupid exes, they gon' call again. Tell them that a real stepping in. Don't let them try you, test your patience. Tell them that it's over, ain't no debating. All you need is me playing on your playlist. You ain't gotta be frustrated. I don't wanna play no games. Go around, give you my last name. Know you tired of the same damn thing. That's okay, cause baby, you got it, girl, you got it. You got it, girl, you got it. I don't wanna, yeah. Got it, girl, you got it. Play no games. Freaky. I could learn a lot from you, gotta come teach me. You a little hot girl, you a little sweetie. Sweet like Pearland, sweet like Peachtree. Like that. I could tell you crazy, but you kinda intrigue me. Yeah, I like that. Seen it on the gram, tryna see that in 3D, mommy. I know I get around cause I like to move freely. But you can lock it down, I can tell by how you treat me. I seen how you did, homeboy, so please take it easy. Good to have me on your side, I ain't saying that you need me. Yeah, yeah. 6 God talk, but I ain't tryna get preachy. No. I seen how you did, homeboy, please take it easier on me. Cause I don't wanna play no games. I don't wanna play no games.
It's 11:30. You have most likely, I'm sure by now, heard the really sad news about the former One Direction star Liam Payne. He died after falling from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires. We've seen such an outpouring of love and well wishes for Liam Payne, and of course for his family as well that he's left behind. But it got us thinking this morning, why is it that we tend to be so impacted by the passing away of celebrities, people that we might never have met, people we don't actually know, but we still feel saddened by it, we still feel an element of just something that doesn't sit right. So here to chat to me about that is psychotherapist and anxiety expert Kamala Corr. Morning to you, Kamala. How are you doing?
Morning, I'm very well. How are you?
I'm okay. This is a strange one, isn't it? Or maybe it's not for an awful lot of people, because there is a feeling whenever you've been connected with someone, maybe you're a One Direction fan, or maybe it was, I guess, part of your formative years growing up, and you feel a sense of sadness, but you're not really sure why you feel that way.
Yeah, but there's so many reasons though, especially when you've seen a celebrity growing up at such a young age in front of you in the screen. You feel like you've been on a journey with them throughout their entire life, and that loss, even though you don't have a personal connection with that celebrity, it can feel like a personal loss because you've had insight in their life, you've followed their journey. Especially now in social media, we can literally get an insight in their personal lives as well, not just their professional lives. So there is that connection. And a lot of the time with celebrities, we develop a parasocial relationship, which is like a one-sided emotional bond where we feel like we know the celebrity, even though we don't. So that passing away, especially in such a sudden way, it can feel like a big shock, and it can feel like a personal grief and loss.
Is there something to do with as well, it can take us back to our own experiences, almost that we've been triggered by maybe grief that we've had, or experiences that we've had throughout our lives?
Yes, definitely. Because a lot of the time when you're talking about your own feelings and your own emotions, it can seem quite confrontational. It can seem challenging, and not everybody is comfortable talking about their own feelings. So when you have such a public grief or a public loss, it's easier to talk about feelings related to that rather than feelings related to your own personal experience. So it can definitely trigger unresolved grief, unresolved loss, or unresolved trauma from your own life.
I mean, when you think about the success of a band like One Direction, and everything that you said spot on in terms of them being such a huge part of popular culture for such a long time, particularly for younger kids who might have been, coming up to teenage years, coming up to sort of early adulthood now. I mean, from a parent's point of view, that you might think, it's not necessarily something that we need to be worried about if kids are feeling really sort of down about that or whatever. But what would you say to parents to be able to manage this sensitively, or manage situations like this more sensitively?
So the first thing is definitely do not minimize it. Do not make it look like you didn't know this person and it shouldn't be a big deal, or it shouldn't be impacting you in this way. You just never know what is going on underneath the surface for your child. They could be struggling in school, they could be struggling in education, in life, and this could just be the tipping point that's just pushing them over the edge. So the first thing is to be sensitive and acknowledge the emotion. Even if you don't agree with it, we don't have to agree with everything in life, but even if you don't agree with it, it's important to acknowledge your child's feelings, hear them out, try and understand what emotion they're feeling, and support them by asking them what you can do to help them. Don't offer solutions, don't offer strategies, because more often than not, we get into this fixing mode, like trying to reassure people and trying to get them to move out of that stage of grief. Grief needs space and time, and there is no limit on how much space and time an individual will need. So you have to be patient, and you can offer emotional support, but not by offering strategies, by just saying, what do you need from me, and supporting your child through it.
Is that something that we can, as a society, try and be better at more generally? That idea of whenever someone's going through something difficult, whatever it is, that we just say, and sit with it with the person alongside them, rather than, as you say, going into this mode of fixing all the time. When in actual fact, a lot of the time, that's not what the person's looking for. They're just looking, as you say, to be heard.
Yeah, it actually drives me nuts. Do you know that? It actually, in like comments like, be strong, be positive, everything's going to be okay, you'll be fine, you'll be okay. This is toxic positivity. That's what that actually is. Because sometimes the person knows they're going to be fine, but that's not what they want to hear in that moment. It's really important to stay with that person and sit with that person. More often than not, what's going on is we're feeling uncomfortable with that emotion, so we're trying to give them reassurance to move them out of that space, and that is not healthy, and it's not helpful for the other person, because the subliminal message that you're sending them is that I don't really want to hear what you've got to say. And then that means even if they want to reach out to you in the future, they probably won't. So it's really important just to zip up and just hear the person. And if they ask you for advice or solutions, then offer it. But if they're not asking you for it, then don't offer it, because they're probably not looking for a solution. They're just looking to be seen and heard.
Are we getting better at dealing with grief as a society, or do we do that well yet?
No, definitely not, because I have seen in workplace settings where somebody will be off from a loss, a personal loss, a massive loss, and they'll come back into the workspace and everybody just acts like that's normal, like nothing's happened, like they've never been away. Why? Because they don't want to upset the person. Why? Because they don't want to bring up a topic that is maybe uncomfortable. That person's just had gone through a life-changing event. They've lost a person in their life. It could be a partner, it could be a parent, it could be a child. How can you not acknowledge that? That's just rude on every level. So I think as a society, we're not good at it at all. I think in the Western society in general, I think we just don't talk about grief because we think it's a very personal thing, and we shouldn't ask questions about it, and we shouldn't pry, and we shouldn't be intrusive. But what it actually does is it does the opposite. It stunts that other person's grief journey because they're not getting a chance to release emotion.
As you say, sometimes as well, it's just some people don't. It's difficult to know what to say, or to, you know, if there's, you don't want to make the situation worse. So I think people tend to just say nothing, which then I guess for the other person can be difficult if they want to talk about things. Listen, Camilyn, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time this morning. Camilyn Kaur, psychotherapist, anxiety expert. Details of organisations, by the way, offering information support with bereavement, what we're talking about obviously this morning, are available at the BBC Action Line. So it's bbc.co.uk/action line, or you can call for free at any time to hear recorded information. 08000 158 707. Let's get some more music for you now, BBC Radio Scotland. It's December 63 by the Four Seasons. More on the way after this.